it doesn't mean that I'm going to try to tell someone how to play lacrosse.
That's
I don't
true.
know. I don't know. I don't know anything about lacrosse, so why should I make the rules?
Well, they
Right?
do hit each other with sticks, which, as a former hockey player, just seems unbelievably brutal, and we need stick control. Okay, so we move into this election. Clintons are back. Let me ask, for people who don't really understand, right, whether it's Trump or Hillary Clinton, we've tried to take a balanced view. What's at stake here? What does Hillary Clinton believe about firearms? And how would that affect the Supreme Court, the actual legislation? Is it fear-mongering? Are there legitimate concerns?
Now, there's plenty of legitimate concerns. I mean, Hillary just frankly believes that no general citizen in the United States should be able to own a firearm at all. That's the ultimate goal of these people. And just her mentality, she wants the entire populace disarmed. And the way that they go about doing that is very systematic and small little pieces at a time. So with a Clinton presidency or a new Clinton presidency, you could have swings in the Supreme Court, which is where a lot of the rulings on potential legislation or laws and things like that, arguments come in play and is the final rule of the land. And it just looked like Heller versus DC and other decisions. One swing, that's it.
And that shouldn't even be a thing. Like, if you're talking about the fundamental rights of people to bear arms and whether or not that's an individual right, how is that even a thing? How is that not a unanimous? Well, of course they do.
In my personal opinion, and I speak for Eric too, I'm sure, but that is not up for discussion. I'm sorry, it's not.
No, it's not, and it's important, like you're talking about, these Supreme Court cases, cut through the social media drama, cut through people writing blogs. The four votes against it were not capacity, magazine capacity limitations. It was, we have to say that based on our interpretation, private citizens have no right to own firearms whatsoever, and it should be left to local jurisdiction. That's terrifying.
That is very terrifying. I mean,
look at California.
I've always believed, and I know to be true, that self-protection and self-preservation is a basic, fundamental human right, no matter where you are in the world. It doesn't matter where you live, you have a right to defend yourself with at least the same force that everybody around you has. So if, I don't know, you're over in a grass hut in somewhere, some third world country, and the other guys have metal sharp sticks, should you have to have wooden sharp sticks? I mean, it's really just so terrifying that they think that way. And the thing about the anti-gun mentality at the level of people like Hillary Clinton is she's actually not anti-gun. She's just anti-you having guns. And again, it's that greater than thou type attitude.
Elitist mentality.
It's elitist mentality of, we can't let all the slaves and all the nobodies have guns. So that doesn't make sense. Only my bodyguards should have guns.
Right.
And you can tell a lot about a person by how they talk to their subordinates. And Hillary is downright evil to her subordinates. She yells at people. There's been cases where you've heard, people have overheard her yelling and being really rude to the Secret Service that's protecting her.
Sure.
And those people are there to protect your life, to make sure no one tries to do anything harmful to you. And you're going to be disrespectful to those people and yell at them and treat them like crap. Character goes a long way when you're running for office. I mean, I know that we've lost that. We've lost those ideals as a nation, and those principles seem to have kind of fallen to the wayside. But there was a time when men were respected and women were respected for their actions and what they do and how they treat people, and they were loved genuinely, not because of some title that's just given to them or they stole or they, convinced somebody to give them, but because they really deserve it.
Well, she did get an apartment in New York for a few weeks before she became a senator, so she put in the time. She did the work. She's not a slacker. It's actually upsetting to me. She has the perfect physique for concealed carry and puts it to no use. It's just like a shelf.
So many shelves and crevices.
No need to get a clever holster.
Crevi?
Crevi? I don't know what the term is, but it's like, what do you have, a custom holster? No, just my oddly shaped body.
We can do this.
Hillary Clinton, I mean. Sorry.
I mean, you guys have probably heard about, some of the physical issues that she's having. Like, there's health issues that have kind of come out, and eventually she's going to have to answer that. Like some people think she has Parkinson's.
She did. She opened a pickle jar.
What more do you want?
So she's got these special SUVs that have to be purposely low for her to be able to get in and out, and they have to help her up to the podium, help her back, and there's been photos that oddly enough, probably some of the Secret Service guys took that she's been so.
Yeah,
brutal.
here's how you can tell when Secret Service doesn't like you. Like Barack Obama, when someone who you know is Secret Service videotaped his workout using 3-pound dumbbells for like 40 minutes and leaked it, that's not a guy who's your buddy. It's not like, if he's your friend, he goes, all right, we're going to get this right camera angle. We're going to make it look like you're deadlifting 450, okay? Instead, you're like, all right, get him doing shrugs with the 3 pounds and leak it to live leak. Okay, all right. Well,
edit in like he's huge.
Yeah, the wincing. So with Hillary Clinton, though, would you say, because there's a lot of demagoguery, I guess people would say, where people, America can't sustain this. This is the most pivotal election. I don't know that this is the most pivotal in some other aspects, like economically, maybe foreign policy. I think Obama and Hillary have been pretty consistent. They've been worse in their carrying out of them, but their foreign policy. When it comes to firearms, though, and then we'll go to a break real quick, is this the most consequential election you think in a long time?
In a while, yeah, I think so. I mean, because you've got basically another Clinton coming into play, and we know what the former Clinton presidency, gave us. So, and they've learned from their mistakes.
I think that there's also a double-edged sword there. We know what we're getting with another Clinton. We know what to expect there. So there's a little bit that hurts them a little bit going into it because they know that they have to kind of, act a certain way in order to not, sway things that way. But then with Trump, it's like, a lot of people don't like Trump, and I know that, there's not a lot of support, so it's random.
I mean, we don't know really. I mean, Trump says he supports the Second Amendment, but...
Well, let's talk about that hold that thought. We'll talk about that after the break, because we have to go to our evil corporate overlords. Iraq veteran 8888, if you change the channel...
We can do this!
We're going to buy an assault weapon in your name. Don't do it.
See.
Don't do it. What time are we meeting at the movies?
Well, there's options. We got an 8:15 and looks like a 9:35.
Okay, that works.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I can book some tickets now.
Okay, so I'll meet you then. When does it start? Starts at 9:30. The movie?
Yeah, it starts at 9:30. Probably previews. Oh, Kristen Stewart's in it.
Never mind.
When it's time to party, we will party hard.
Glad to be back. Glad to have some gamers here who've come on. They're willing to dance. We have Eric and Chad from youtube.com/IraqVeteran8888. Oh, by the way, thank you for your service. We should have said that before. People going to write letters.
Oh, yeah, appreciate that. Appreciate that.
So you were talking about this before the break, because now that we've spent all of our time just defecating on Hillary Clinton, you said with Trump, you'd like to think he's pro-Second Amendment, but Chad, you seem to have some reservations or maybe unsure. Explain that a little bit.
If you look at some of his past history and just some of the things he said back in the early to mid '90s and even later on, Trump used to be a Democrat basically, and he said some things about firearms that were not exactly pro-Second Amendment. But now it's he's changed face, become a Republican, or a conservative in name, and some people think that he's a rhino, which is a Republican in name only, and that he's running as a conservative. But really, no matter who wins the election, some people think that we're still going to have Democratic ideals in the White House. So it's a scary situation because I don't know, it's that trust factor. It's like, can we really trust Trump? But
I would say listen, I've had those issues, and I think correctly so on things like immigration, where he sometimes kind of pivots on the economy and taxes. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, either Eric or Chad, whoever wants to chime in, with the Second Amendment. It is such a winning issue, and it is one that they cannot risk pissing off their base. I think he would have to acquiesce to people like you and myself. I think that's kind of a fail-safe.
Well, that's very important to mention, too, because, the NRA endorses Trump.
Right.
So, the NRA wouldn't come out and say, hey, we're endorsing Trump for president. If I'm sure that there's like this talks that go on behind the scenes where they probably sat down with him and probably got the skinny and probably thought, okay, this guy's a pretty good chance for the Second Amendment. Now, granted, Eric, Eric, I believe his name, Eric Trump's son loves
What's
to shoot.
happening?
And there's been
Where
multiple
am
people in
I?
the industry that I've dealt with on a regular basis that have like shot with
you're
him,
back
and
with us, I
loves
see.
guns and everything like that. So
Yes.
you can't
I feel
imagine like a
strange,
gathering
as if a weight
of
has
the
been
Trump
lifted from
family
my
getting
heart.
together and hanging
I
out.
feel
And a few guns not get broken out, have some fun, and do some
Thank
shooting.
goodness for that.
I
I
don't
was
know.
worried about it.
I'm sorry. I wasn't
Right,
myself.
come on. Well, I'm not saying that's
But
the
I'm back
only
now.
thing.
You
because
think he
there's
like during
ready
The
to work
Apprentice when he was
harder than
firing
ever.
people, he had the old
Well,
Valentine's Day Massacre
These
gun
fine people have
bolted
all come
underneath
to
the
visit
table.
our great kingdom.
Yeah. So the
I
thing
think
is,
we'd
like,
better let them in.
there's a very big difference between all right, I
Indeed, we
took
had.
a two-shot shotgun and
This
went out
way,
and shot
everybody.
crap, and I own an AR, or to the other's perspective, I own an AR and a handgun for self-defense.
Right.
Those are two very different aspects of the Second Amendment, I believe. And you've got people who go, "Yeah, I support the Second Amendment," but do they really understand what it's really about, what it really means in this country? Yeah, that we now have over the course of the last 20 years, we've seen a huge influx in the self-defense gun culture. That the culture of self-defense, the culture of responsibility, and I believe that has come full circle now. And there are more gun owners now than ever who embrace the idea of the culture of self-defense, to include women now.
Well, I would love to get you guys on board, and not that pressure on air, but we're going to do a video with Dave Rubin out in California. He has a show on YouTube, pretty popular. He's a moderate sort of gay center-left. I think he just endorsed Gary Johnson, but he had never owned a firearm. And this is my theory. I've said, listen, if you know someone who's on the fence who's never owned a firearm, hashtag, and we got it trending, hashtag gift a gun. Buy a gun, have it shipped to their FFL, so that way they have to go through the paperwork. Because all it takes for someone to know that Hillary Clinton is lying, all it takes to know that someone like Barack Obama is lying, is for that person to have ever bought a gun. Whenever they hear someone on TV say, you get these guns with no background checks, even a liberal, but who had a gun given to them as a gift, is going to show,
We better get you a new
bull
outfit
crap,
before
I
they
had
put
to
you
do
in
that.
the zoo.
And I think that'd be a
Come on,
great thing
Ollie,
to get more people on board, just getting other people. Even if they end up selling it or trading it in, at least they've had to go through the process and they understand there is a process.
Yeah, I mean, not only that idea that you're talking about, but also getting them out to the range. Because I think that's the real crux. It's not so much the like getting the gun and doing the paperwork. Okay, then you go out in your car and you're like,
no. Well, I mean, it's but a two-pronged because the lie that you don't need to do any paper. It's easier to get a toothbrush. It's easier to get a gun than a toothbrush, and then get them obviously training if they want to use it. But just getting them in the process so they know that's a lie. It's very easy to debunk.
and they know it's not just as easy as going into a grocery store and buying like a little package, like in a meat package with a pistol in it. You know, like,
Yeah, exactly.
like a one-way.
Is this still good?
At the supermarket, you know?
Well, that's like the misconceptions that we were talking about earlier, and just public ignorance as a whole. I mean, you think, okay, you hear the gun show loophole all the time. It's like, oh, the gun show loophole, we have to close that. Well, guess what? It doesn't really exist.
Right.
I mean, a gun show, if you buy from a dealer, you still have to do paperwork.
Right.
If you have a carry permit, you can buy without going through a background check because you've already been through an extensive federal background check to obtain that carry permit.
Right.
And people do not know the process, and they just think, oh, well, I could just go out and just buy a gun on the street. Oh, on the street. That's
Where's the thing that started online? You can get it online with no background check. Just
that's a big thing too. I mean, if you buy a gun online, you can get normally a better price, or if you buy something on Gunbroker that's used or like antique or whatever, it still has to ship to an FFL, and you still have to transfer it through that FFL. It's not direct to your door unless you have.
But here's my point. We know this. The people who have never done it can't know that. And so they take it at face value. Well, I could just order a gun from nobackgroundcheck.com and it'll ship to my door with my Amazon pantry.
Well, I got.
Well, no, and I'm glad that there are channels out there. Like, I think the firearm community, we've talked about this, is a great sort of microcosm for people to see. They tend to lean more right. They're more conservative, but they're more free thinkers, and they're not just married to the left-right paradigm. And so it's more indicative of a diverse sort of I guess sort of intellectual diversity you see there. And I'm glad to see more people on there. So real quick before we go, where can people best find you?
Go on to YouTube and just type in Iraq Veteran 8888. We'll pop up. We've got over 1,000 videos on YouTube. We do all different kind of stuff. We have a series called Gun Gripes where we basically talk about these exact subjects. In fact, the spirit of this video makes me think exactly of that. Like like you mentioned, like forward thinking and kind of open minded. So that's definitely what we're all about in terms of
individualism. I mean, that's the biggest thing that we get at is just be an individual. Don't be a subject. Be an individual. Be responsible for yourself.
Right. Absolutely, the right to basic human self-preservation. Eric, Chad, thank you so much. But we have to let them go back to chew their straw. Iraq veteran 8888, stay with us or you're racist.
Former Governor of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura here, the bot. This week, while the tabloids are trying to keep you distracted with your mind on Donald Trump going down to Mexico, or the feud going on between Kim Kardashian and Taylor Swift as they Instagram pictures of their fat asses, that's just the mainstream media trying to keep you out in the cold from the issues that really matter. Like the fact that Hillary Clinton's security detail and their complicit ass munchers in the media are trying to actively cover up the fact that Hillary Rodham Clinton has stage 4 Zika virus. Know the facts.
Glad to be back with you. I think not Gage here. Its camera's not working.
It's not working. It power outage just fried it.
He had something wrong with his whole deal going at the first day of the YouTube new rules. Hashtag YouTube is over party. And this happens. It's the first time our stream goes out, so we appreciate you guys watching or listening to the podcast. So this is what's happened. This is big right now in the news. YouTube today, or this week, just decided to implement some new rules with advertising. This is important for you to know, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're not. The YouTube community is really upset, but this is how it affects you. And the new guidelines to determine whether a video is advertiser friendly includes no foul language, also no controversial topics. So they've been demonetizing videos in record numbers. This has been happening with YouTube. Some of the biggest YouTubers out there have had this, and we had a few. We had a few videos that were demonetized. Not all of them, but let me sort of give you some inside baseball here, a couple of things. I've been on YouTube for a long time. YouTube has the right, I want to be clear with this, YouTube has the right to remove anyone they want from their platform and to not monetize videos. However, YouTube has never created content, really. YouTube has simply provided a platform. YouTube would not be a multi-billion-dollar entity if not for the people who create content on YouTube. Your camera's working.
Camera's working.
Look at you. You're a YouTube guy too. I've been on there since 2006. We were some of the first partners. Now, YouTube created a partner program. In other words, they pay people a split of advertising revenue to create content on YouTube. Why? Because otherwise there'd be no reason to be on YouTube. So to build this business, they courted people to create content, and they courted them under the guise of, hey, open expression, as long as you bring an audience, you can make money. Now they're getting greedy and saying, we want all the money, we want more advertisers, we want premium advertisers, so we want to turn YouTube into the Disney Channel. And they're going after channels left and right. Let me give you some inside baseball from us. We were with a studio with YouTube, Studio 71. Now, I don't think I'm saying, you always have to be careful because of moral turpitude clauses, so I will only say exactly what has happened. I won't give an opinion. We've gone back and forth with these people in Studio 71. I'm pretty sure, they're out there in California. I'm pretty sure they're not conservatives. I knew that going in. Give you an idea, I've worked with people at YouTube and we've dealt with issues. I worked with someone there at Google. She was very nice. She never knew somebody, ever in her life, who'd owned a gun, nor could fathom the reason someone might want to own a gun. These are the people setting the guidelines at YouTube. That's important for you to know. We were with Studio 71. Immediately after, it could be entirely coincidence, we went after the Young Turks and made fun of them. Not KJ, you need to back me up on this.
Yep, it's true. 100%.
They told us this relationship hasn't gone the direction we expected it to go. We think it's probably better if we part ways. To be fair, I had said that before. To the day, today, where all the videos are being monetized across different platforms, we were officially released from Studio 71. and every single one of our videos was demonetized. Every single one. Now, I think they're going to be remonetized. Here's the thing. I understand this is advertiser-driven, so you need to look at the advertisers if they're the ones who are creating these guidelines and list them publicly. I don't believe that every single advertiser finds gun to be an offensive word. That's one thing on YouTube. We've noticed if we create a video on YouTube and we say gun in the title, your video is not approved. It can't be advertised. It's not advertiser-friendly, right? Well, they still put ads on it, and they make money. They just don't pay their partners who create the content. That's an important portion, too. There still will be some form of ad. You just won't make money on it. So do they have the right? Yes. Is this censorship? No. Here's what's so important. This is the mob mentality, the bullying, right? If they tell people, don't say gun, you say, okay, I'm going to criticize it. You can't criticize Islam. If they say you can't say anything politically incorrect, you can't make fun of feminists, what happens? People who now depend on YouTube for their livelihood, they begin to self-censor. We've even said, well, how can we get around gun? We use words like firearm. You can't use firearm. Second Amendment, they still flag it. So this has been happening with YouTube. They haven't necessarily had our back. One thing I want to talk about, we haven't been hit as bad because we don't cuss a lot. It's not necessarily ideologically driven for people asking these questions. It's not necessarily ideologically driven from what we've seen on YouTube. It does seem like profanity plays a big factor. We don't do that a lot. Not because we can't. The show is syndicated terrestrially. You've probably heard, though, if you could count on one hand the amount of times that I've said something that wouldn't be allowed on traditional TV. Why is that? It's not that it offends me, and we've had people. One of my favorite comedians, Nick DiPaolo, is as profane as he gets. It's just not really me. It's not really not Gay Jared. And I will say this: I have no problem with someone who can be incredibly articulate, who uses cussing to punctuate a sentence. My dad, when he swears, it's hysterical.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But it's definitely a crutch, and I do think this is entirely personal preference. We try and keep the organic nature of being online. But the professionalism in our language and the ability to articulate a point that you would expect from someone in traditional media. We try to elevate that. And I do think that people who rely... Well, let's just roll these clips. It just feels kind of hack sometimes, the people who need to accentuate every word with a cuss word because the teacher's not watching. See if you see what I mean.
Right-wing PC outrage. Same thing here with this shit.
Because we'd have a shittier country with a bunch of idiots running around without education.
He needs to get the fuck up. Because they're emotional little babies. I say, get the fuck over it. And I'm going to say that now to the right-wingers. Get the fuck over it. Stop being little PC right-wing bitches. That's what you are.
And when people are buying
so well to make it this far,
over it. We should all not try to fucking... Well, there must be punishment for this. We're
making more shit than we've ever made before.
Yes, you certainly are. You hear what you hear? It just doesn't sound very professional.
That is not...
sounds like someone who's... A lot of people who go, it's a word whisker. They're trying to think. The F word...
by the way, anyone can make a highlight reel. That did not take long to come up with.
And by the way, the only reason we use Kyle Kalinske, I know some of you are fans, is because he addressed me and insulted me in his last video, but then refused to show up for debate.
And I really admire the guy. He knows how to frame a shot.
Yes, stop it. Come on, he's not a professional. And that's the point. We try to elevate this a little bit. So it's not, we don't not swear because anyone tells us not to. It's just not, listen. Someone thinks they're being real and authentic and cussing. I wouldn't be authentic if that's what I did. We say some stuff off air that we wouldn't say on air sometimes. Probably sometimes things, you say things with family members that you trust them. But I think a lot of people are surprised when they meet me and they come up or they ask for a picture that it's pretty much what you hear on the program. It's not all that different. Maybe I'm a little shyer in person. Is that a fair assessment? You're pretty much the same too. I don't think either of us are very different.
No, I don't think so at all.
Oh, it's just like talking on air. So this is the way we talk, and so that's why we don't swear a whole lot. And again, I come from traditional media, Fox News, film, radio, CNN, all of these, BBC. You name the network, I've done it, and so they have guidelines, and it's somewhat ingrained into me. I'm getting texts from Iraq veteran now. We're gonna have Dave Rubin up next. Something else too. If we were to ever go daily, #NeverDaily. If you want to know how to support us because of the demonetization, it's very simple. Here are the free things you can do. Bookmark louderwithcrowder.com. If you're listening to this on radio or on YouTube, subscribe on iTunes or SoundCloud or your Android device. Sign up for the mailing list. All of these things are free. If you like the content, it allows us to get a hold of you. If YouTube tries to ban us or if Facebook, as we've had these tussles before. And I will say this, if we were to ever go daily, if it were ever to be a part of the discussion, there's not an announcement coming in October or November. We're not going to do a Patreon, a $1 here or $2 there. If we were to ever do it, it would be created in a way so that we could sustain what we do. Here's the thing. You can't complain about censorship on YouTube and then not pay for content. It would be something in a way that we want to provide such immense value, you would feel compelled to pay. It wouldn't just be me. It would be a network of people. If we were to ever go daily, perhaps some top YouTubers you would like, perhaps some #1 New York Times bestsellers who you would like. You go, man, I wish they had a show. If we were to ever actually do a daily show, we would take everything that's free now is free. It'll always stay free, okay? But we would take that daily show off of YouTube for reasons like the stream tonight, for reasons like YouTube demonetizing it, so that you can support. If you want to support what we do, great. We don't try and hawk you a bunch of stuff. We don't want your money if you don't want to support the program, and we don't want to ask for charity. We want to create something that's of value and partner up with the right people. If we were to ever go daily, but #NeverDaily, we're not going to do it at any point. So, and this is the reason for that. You don't want to be dependent. I think that Drudge called them social media ghettos. I think the backlash is going to be unbelievable with YouTube because unlike Facebook or Twitter, you know, Facebook, your grandmother's on and they post cat pictures. YouTube is entirely dependent on the content. Cute.
Have you seen the newest ones?
I've seen the prairie dog's testicles.
Yeah, I've also seen the Norwayish reindeer.
The Norwegian, right? You couldn't find. You were deliberating over that.
Yeah, for like at least a couple
Norwegian?
minutes. In fact, I thought about it for like the last minute. I thought I had it right, and I went with that. That was a 1 minute thought there.
Oh, that's right. No, we have Colin Kaepernick next.
Yep.
He's texting me. We're going to have Colin Kaepernick next before Dave Rubin. So we wanted to talk about that. It's pretty clear. They have YouTube has the right to do what they do. But here's something that's really clear. You know YouTube obviously is run by leftists. You know Facebook, Twitter, Silicon Valley. They're all very, very far to the left. Look at their safety councils. They're all blue-haired, hairy-pitted, unshaven feminists. This is what they do. The left doesn't believe in freedom of speech. It's not a part of the platform. And I don't just mean Democrats in the United States. I mean the movement. I mean Bernie Sanders. I mean socialists in Canada. I mean socialists in the UK. It's not a part of their platform. If you can point me in the United States to any mainstream conservative Republican platform that calls for the banning of offensive speech, I would be shocked. Don't reach all the way back for Tipper Gore after Columbine and violent video games. Even if you're a liberal, this is one thing, and we'll talk about that with Dave Rubin, you have to acknowledge. Private businesses have the right to do this. But when it almost always happens when it's run by leftists. Speech eventually degrades to the point that it evaporates. So hopefully we've crystallized our thoughts, and we're not going anywhere. We're going to be on YouTube. We're still creating free spree content. We may take a financial hit.
In your living room, staring at your children.
That is, well, it's not necessary.
Hey there, bald baby. I saw you on Twitter.
That was too much.
That was creepy. Was that too much?
It was too much.
Was that the line?
Yeah, it was the line.
I found the line.
Well, when you went descriptive with the baby, generic baby is fine. Descriptive just seems a whole.
Hey
new
there,
level.
generic
Hey, after
baby.
the break, Colin Kaepernick. Kaepernick? I don't know.
No one
Apparently
knows.
he's black. We didn't know that either. Being president's a hard job. It requires a candidate who's healthy, vibrant, and full of stamina. Hopper wants your vote, but here he is at the veterinarian clinic. Look at him. He can barely walk. Is he addicted to painkillers? Here he is wearing the cone of shame. It's so big he can't even get on the couch. What's he trying to hide? If a candidate won't release their veterinary records, you can't trust them with your country. Fit for the presidency, Hopper says? I think not. Unfit, unqualified, and un-American. Paid for by Sheldon Acorn Center Squirrel Suticals. Hey, Jared, what are you doing?
Shooting bad guys.
With what?
By AR-15.
Where'd you get it?
AR-15.com.
Enunciate it more clearly so our audience can hear.
AR-15.com.
That's better. They sell guns now?
Yeah, they do.
Are they any good?
They're the best.
Where from?
AR-15.com. Kapoo! Kapoosh!
You really make that sound?
Didn't have the budget for sound effects. Kapoo! Kapow!
Oh, there's another one!
Kapow!
You got him! With what?
By AR-15.
From where?
AR-15.com.
Hey, how do you know they're bad guys?
Turbans and burkas. Kapoo!
That's racist! Glad to be back. Our next guest, a big scoop. Big scoop.
That it is.
I assume, do we have him?
We do.
We do have him on the line. Let me know. Are we ready?
I think so.
I don't want to waste his time because he's very busy. He's an important guy. He's been at the top of the news. You know him. He's I don't follow. He's an NFL quarterback, right?
Yeah, I think so.
He's been in the news for refusing to stand during the national anthem, talking about how he won't support a country that oppresses black people. Caused some waves. Colin, Mr. Kaepernick, are you there?
Huh? Oh,
yes, Steven. How are you?
I'm very glad to see you. Thanks for making the time, Mr. Kaepernick.
Oh, anytime, Steven.
Well, thanks. I know you're a busy man. Listen, a lot of people, let's dive right into it, are sympathetic to your concerns, I think. I don't, even though I don't agree with you, I'm certainly sympathetic. But they've raised issues, and I would feel this way, on how you've chosen to go about raising awareness for them. So, do you think maybe you're hurting your cause more than helping it than if you did it in a more productive way?
Look, Steven, this is how you make friends. When the TSA slows down the airport security line because they want more funding, are the people in line mad at the TSA? No, they love the TSA. They got their hands up.
No. Don't you think you might turn off people, though, by sort of spitting on something so revered? Like, what'll you do when this is a stunt, when the shock wears off?
No, first off, look, to get people to like you, you need to disrespect what they value. I feel like that's pretty.
I don't think that's how it works.
But no, I learned it in a book.
Are you going to pivot to something that maybe could earn some sympathy?
Yeah, well, no. This is not just something I thought of off the cuff. This is the one prong of a multi-prong fork.
What's prong number two?
I'm gonna hold a charity frisbee golf tournament.
Well, that doesn't sound so bad.
Yeah, we're gonna have it over at the Arlington National Cemetery. It's gonna be great. Bruno Mars is gonna be there.
Now, see, Colin, this is what we're talking about. It seems like you're using these sort of political third rails. You know what I mean, Jared?
That seems
publicity,
inappropriate,
and
maybe.
it just seems a little bit scummy, and you're doing more harm to your cause than good.
No, I look. This is how you have to do it. Like I said, but yeah, I'm not gonna stand. for the anthem. End of story. I'm not going to be complicit in a system that has works for a privileged class, but not for the common man. Which is why, Stephen, I would like to announce on your show, I'm also not taking any tax deductions this year.
Really? None.
No,
None at all. You're sure?
None. How could I, Stephen? If I'm railing against a system that that is working for a privileged class, but seems a little bit hypocritical.
I guess.
Yeah, we all need to unite right now.
By rejecting a symbol of unity, the flag.
Boom, you got it. See, they'll never see it coming, Stephen. This is like looking off the safety. This is what we do in football.
All right, Colin, let's keep going like this is going really well. Are you worried at all? I mean, Jerry, don't you think... Do you think people might take this as a blanket indictment, some of the things that you say, Colin, against law enforcement? There's some concern with that after Dallas. Do you think some people might misinterpret it? I'm trying to give you some more room here, leeway.
Look, Stephen, I think blankets have very, very little to do with this. I got nothing against blankets, be they a comforter or a duvet. I've even been known to use a Snuggie from time to time, but I don't want to distract from the issue at hand.
Okay, let's go with yeah. Let's go with that. Do you have a favorite blanket?
Blankets, a throw. I'm a quarterback, Stephen.
Okay. See what I did there. I don't know if quarterbacks are known as much for the jokes. All right, you've taken this stand. Does it stop here, or are you going to be more hands-on in communities here in the United States going forward?
Definitely, absolutely. I'm going to make an announcement when when it comes, my plans come closer to fruition. I want to increase awareness of these issues with kids, which is why we're actually organizing a Pokemon Go gathering.
Oh, well, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, over at the Holocaust Museum. It's going to be cool. I've also put together a bit of a brain trust of some of my celebrity friends, some of the brightest guys I know: Chris Brown, Ryan Lochte, Paul Krugman. So it's pretty exciting. Got a lot of stuff going on.
Okay, Colin, it seems like you're more in tune with current events these days. Would that be a fair assessment? It seems like you're taking an interest.
That is fair to say, Stephen.
So then, while I have you here, what are your thoughts on? I mean, I think it would have. You're African American, part.
I didn't research this very much.
Okay. Well, I believe let's go with that. What are your thoughts on the global refugee crisis? Should we be taking in? Should we be taking in more Afghans, for example?
Stephen, this is your second question about blankets. I'd like to keep this on topic.
The Afghans. All right. You know what? I don't think you're very well equipped, Colin Kaepernick, to deal with the social issues in the United States.
That's fair.
Do you have anything left to say? Any parting words?
No. Check me out week 1. Start me in fantasy.
All right, Colin Kaepernick, everybody, hang up on him.
We gotta fire a booker. And by that I mean myself, of course.
I don't know how this happens sometimes. Colin Kaepernick, everybody.
He doesn't deserve an outro.
He doesn't really deserve an outro. He doesn't deserve a whole lot of time, this man. It is one of those. I honestly, with Colin Kaepernick, I had no idea that he was black. Let's be honest here. When you saw him, you thought probably Lebanese, something like that.
I would say he would. I would bet on him serving my shawarma over my chicken.
See, I just said something that was a fact, maybe Lebanese, and then you took it to a stereotype. Do you see how this happens? Do you see how you think you're following my lead and you just screw it up? See, that's a bad thing.
Back to you, Stephen.
We're getting, man, the things are just lighting up with the YouTube party is over, and people's talking about, listen, we said we're not going daily. I'm just saying if we were to ever go daily, we want to provide you with a tremendous and incredible value. We work really hard in this program, and if we were to ever go daily, which we won't, we would make sure that the quality doesn't suffer. It would only be done with a team. We talked about pies.
But the power doesn't go down in the middle of a live stream.
The power to your TriCaster. If we were to do that, like we've talked about Golden Ticket, we're going through submissions, there would be more pieces to a whole new pie as far as people being employed. Isn't that wonderful? There's a lot to love about the United States. I hope people understand that. There's both people in this election right now, whether it's Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, the implication is that America isn't great or someone can fix it. It really doesn't need all that much fixing. It needs someone to get out of the way. We're proof positive of that. I know so many other people on YouTube. They're entrepreneurs. Dave Rubin is one of those guys, and he's coming up next. Dave
next.
Rubin, our resident
Dave
favorite
Rubin.
gay.
Love that game.
And now, Anna Kasparian makes a salient point. Because we absolutely need to stand for equality in our current economic system. Well, okay, we can have that discussion, but I'm not entirely sure how you mean. I mean, we need to have equality in our current economic system. Stay tuned for more. Anna Kasparian makes salient points.
Pleasure to meet you, Your Majesty.
So it was you who delivered one's treasure back to one.
That's right.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Glad to be back.
wish for a
We have our
prize,
guest, straight-faced, stone-faced. He wants us to know that he does not find us amusing. You can find him on youtube.com/RubinReport.
Come now,
all over the
don't
social
be
media.
shy.
Good friend of the show, Dave Rubin. Thank you for being here, sir.
Crowder, have you ever thought of doing one of those like 8-hour, you know those
Out
things
with
on
it
YouTube,
now.
those meditation things, just an 8-hour video where they play some music and then you just see some, it's usually psychedelic stuff. But I feel like a good cut of your
What did
head
you
bob
say?
would get people tripping.
It would sell.
Sounds like a Shia LaBeouf experiment.
It sounds like a Shia LaBeouf experiment. Only I'm not nearly.
I was
as-
looking at you very stoically. I was judging you.
You
so
were,
that's why.
yes, exactly. I could feel the judging piercing through because he appears to be broadcasting from some sort of cheese
That's
cloth.
right, Your Majesty.
I don't know what Dave
He's not
Rubin is
from
doing.
our world.
His camera went
He's the
like
one
totally
whose power
blurry. It's
freed
like
me from my prison.
like a short
My cat
circuit.
What?
I don't know about.
You
we're in
mean
our
he
studio
broke
today,
his
although I'm on
spell?
a laptop at the moment because we're running a bunch of tests.
That's
But when
funny.
Steve Crowder says
Do
do
you
my show,
understand what
I
you're
drop
saying,
everything.
Faye?
Well, thank you
Once
very
you
much.
defy
I
him,
canceled. I had a
there's no
seven-figure
turning
deal that I was about to sign.
I
said
know,
no. Crowder
what
beat me.
This is
precisely?
typical YouTube.
Well,
Speaking
you know,
of big
he might
deal,
be able to-
you came out. You've endorsed. Have you endorsed or just said that you're voting for Gary Johnson? For those who don't know, Dave Rubin, sort of a moderate liberal.
not
I don't
one's
want to mischaracterize him, but I was surprised
You
to
may
hear
not
that
have the one.
Gary
Now
Johnson.
be gone.
Was it just the Johnson thing? Let's be real.
Looks like
Well, here's my thought on Gary Johnson. So I didn't say I'm going to vote for him, and what I did was, I guess you could call it an endorsement. What I basically said in a 14-minute direct-to-camera video was that we desperately, whether you
So how do we
like
get
Trump
one now?
or you like Hillary or you hate Trump
Something
or you
wasn't
hate
quite right
Hillary
about-
or some combination
is?
thereof, it
Lacking
is pretty
enthusiasm
freaking
and
obvious to
onward.
anyone that has a couple neurons firing in
wait?
their brain in this country. Not that there's
Blimey,
many of us
you
left,
don't need much
but
in
there are a couple of us left. And it's pretty obvious to us that we need a third voice in this. Gary Johnson is not a perfect candidate. He's not even a particularly strong candidate. But some of the things that he talks about being socially liberal, so he doesn't care who you sleep with, he doesn't care what you smoke, having low taxes, strong defense, but not to nation build, just so that we don't have to use our defense.
Right.
So we'll have a strong defense. He's for the Second Amendment. He's pretty good on free speech. He was a successful 2-term Republican governor in a blue state. Basically, my point was, I don't think this guy is perfect. By the way, he's not even, a lot of the libertarians don't like him. You know, he wanted to force the gay cake bakers to bake the cake.
Yeah.
I'm a liberal, and I didn't want to force them to do that. So I don't think the guy's the perfect candidate. But if nothing else, let's get one more voice in one debate.
And Jill
Let's
Stein
get
just
the
wasn't
guy-
doing it for you.
I mean, she's just a total nutbag. Like, we don't have to waste any sense on her. She's
Yeah.
just nuts. But let's get one guy, one time, third guy in there, get him to 15%, and then yes, either after that, Hillary will have him killed or whatever. He won't get in a second one, obviously. But there's a couple of weeks here where we could get enough juice behind him to get in there. I don't even think he would do particularly well. But my point is, let's
No.
get some of these ideas heard.
Well, he's used to debating fat strippers at the Libertarian Convention, so making it to the national stage might be a little bit
By the way,
difficult.
I mentioned that the party's a freaking mess. The Libertarian Party, they never do anything down ticket. They think their only chance is to get the presidency first. I mean, the whole party, and look, a party that's brought together on liberty, meaning individual liberty, it's hard to get these people with like a unifying principle behind them.
Well, yeah,
So
and you have that even with the Republican Party. Certainly more so than the Democratic Party. That's what I talked about. If you look at the Republican debates, you had all different kinds of people. Right? You had black, white, women, older, younger, everything you could imagine. It was a very diverse color palette, gender palette, whatever it is that you want to toss in there, the Republican. Then it was just a bunch of old white people, Democratic debates in the primaries, and they agreed on everything. Ideologically, you had pro-pot people like Gary Johnson, Rand Paul, who were non-interventionists. You had war hawks like Chris Christie. You had people who weren't politicians like Ben Carson, Carly Fiorina. You had sort of populists like Donald Trump. And on the left, they agreed on everything except they bragged about who got the lowest rating from the NRA, and they all just excoriated Bernie for only getting a D-. So, yeah, even more so with libertarians, but hopefully people on the left are seeing, hey, it's irrefutable now that there's more intellectual diversity coming from the right at this point.
Well, look, if you wanted the best situation for both parties, and again, I still think we desperately need a third party, a viable third party, and that's why I did what I did with Gary Johnson, even if it's not the third party for 2020. We just have to put these people on notice. Stop giving politicians your money. And that's what everyone should do, number one. Stop, even if you love somebody, just stop giving them your money. And if they won't do it because you're not giving them their money, then they're the wrong person in the first place. But to your point, yeah, the Republicans had 17 people. The Democrats really had 2, and they pretended to have 3 with what's his name, O'Malley. And then there was that one day they had the 4 with Lincoln Chafee, which was an absolute joke.
Chafee, and then the other guy who was actually the decent one, what was his name? The old vet.
Webb, Jim Webb.
He was the only decent one on that stage.
Well, Jim Webb, it was funny because he came off as like a evil 80s character in a Steven Seagal movie, you know, like
usually
an American
that's Steven Seagal
leader gone rogue or something. But he obviously represented a Democratic, you know, the Blue Dog Democrats, and that party doesn't exist anymore.
No.
That group doesn't exist anymore. But if you want what's best for the country, I think you'd split the difference between those two things. So you wouldn't have 17 Republicans because it was just an orgy of insanity, and you wouldn't only have 2 Democrats. If you could get that to a sensible, like 6 or 8 with some diversity, so you need the Rand Paul, and you need the more war hawk guy, and then you need the more centrist. But if you could do that on both sides, then you have an honest discussion. But our system is so broken. Everyone's so sick of it. Everyone sees it now.
Well, I hear people say
it's
that.
just out in the open.
And I understand where you're coming from. And I agree, the Republican Party is broken, and either it needs to be entirely fixed from within, 100% renovated, or some people think with Donald Trump, you just destroy it, scorched earth, and rebuild. But I also come from a place like Canada, or you look at the UK. You look at a parliamentary system where you can have someone elected without even close to a majority of the vote because they're so split. And that's a real problem too. So it's kind of like we talk about this with fighting. We have a 10-round must system per round. It's not perfect. It's flawed, but it's as close to being the best system we've had for scoring combat sports. The same thing here. The 2-party system that we have, in contrast with parliamentary systems, what we had before, is closer to the ideal than what we had before, and it needs changing.
So I get what you're saying, but keep in mind that having 2 parties in our system has nothing to do with our system. That's just because these 2 parties have grabbed the power. Our system, there is nothing in our Constitution that says we have to have 2 parties or anything like that. The 2 parties have grabbed all the power, crushed everybody else, and every year that someone says, oh, I'm going to vote another way, everyone says you're going to throw your vote away, you know? So we need to at least, I get it, there are all kinds, we can look at all sorts of countries in Europe where they have parliamentary systems where the tiniest party that has 2 mandates can topple an entire government because of what you're saying. So I get it that has its own flaws too, but it's pretty obvious. I mean, look, I know you're not thrilled with the 2 candidates right now. Like, no. I'm pretty sure that if there was a sensible, more libertarian guy, I get it why you may not be, well, I'm guessing you basically like Gary Johnson, right?
He seems bitchy. Well, maybe you can help get him out of the closet. He just seems to me like he's come on, he always sits there and he gets so, you ever see him actually debate other libertarians? I feel he's a little bit entitled to the nomination. When he sat there and debated Austin Peterson, who was the other guy, we had Austin Peterson on the show. He gets snippy and catty and bitchy, and I just find that off-putting. I don't like the carbon tax that he's talked about. I don't like his running mate stance on Second Amendment, and I think the libertarian, the ultimate bullet to their own foot, is this sort of open borders policy. And that comes from this nerdy pseudo-intellectualism of thinking that immigration is fine, the market will fix it. Well, Milton Friedman even addressed this back then, who I think is widely considered more libertarian. Listen, it's different to have people immigrating for work opportunity, and when you become a welfare state, that's an entirely different issue. So I'm pretty strong, pretty harsh on immigration, and that's why I part ways with most libertarians.
Yeah, and look, I get you. I mean, Gary Johnson, I said, he's a goofball. He kind of appears to be like a Muppet. Look, I've had him on my show. I sat there. You know what it's like when you actually talk to one of these people.
Right.
How you can get to know them in a different way. I sat in a green room with him. He was going to be on Larry King's show. It was when I was back at Aura.
Speaking of Muppets.
So he was waiting. He was waiting to go on Larry's show, and I had about a half hour in the green room before I had him on my show. And just we talked about everything. And you know what? He was a decent human being.
Sure.
But to that point, he would get up, if we can get him to 15%, just so we can get some of these other ideas heard, yeah, he would be demolished by Trump and Clinton, because she knows her stuff inside and out. We know that Trump is just a truck. He's just plowing through everything, and you're right. He's stammering.
Well, I think that's a good point. I think he would act sort of like the Rand Paul did in the Republican primary, where you had a lot of people getting away from conservatism, promising what they were going to do, how they were going to fix it, and Rand Paul just saying, "Well, I wouldn't do a thing," and people are going, "Wait, what? That's an option?" And then explaining, "Yeah, this isn't what we shouldn't be making these promises. It's not our job." And I really liked that about him. So if Gary Johnson would serve sort of as a referee in that sense, yeah, I think it could be productive to the conversation. What do you say to people who tell you, well, that's a vote for Hillary, effectively?
Well, basically what I said in my video is I'm going to support him to get those ideas out there enough to just see if we can get him in the debates.
Okay.
After that, I'll reevaluate. Like, then I'll have to, at some point, look, I live in California, which, 99.9% chance it's going to be Hillary no matter what. But I know that for whatever influence that I have, with people, I'll decide what to do then, but I wanted to at least spend a month going, let's try. Let's do something a little different. Everybody's yelling at everybody. Everyone's calling everybody a bigot. Let's just try something a little different. But, one other thing on the party thing. Imagine if Trump had got the nomination and then Rand Paul, even though his campaign was terrible and he went out way too early and all that stuff. Imagine if he had said, you know what, I'm going to run third party, libertarian probably, right? And then if Bernie would have said, you know what, whatever deal they gave him, which was obviously a raw deal because he looked so pissed at the Hillary acceptance thing. Imagine if he said, you know what, I'm running green, knock Jill out of the way. Now you have four parties that actually have four leaders that people care about. And yes, maybe one of them ultimately becomes the president with only 32% or something like that. But there would have been actual diversity of thought. You know what I mean? There's real diversity of thought having those four people debate. And we have no diversity of thought, really, with Clinton.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I think that the reason a lot of these sort of the alt-right and conservatives who are always Trump, and if you don't explicitly endorse Trump, and I'll never endorse anybody. I've openly said that. I absolutely have zero in common with people who are out there supporting actively and feel good about voting Hillary Clinton. That's what I say. I think she's awful, as bad of a candidate as we've ever seen in modern history. But I won't endorse.
Well, there's more coming. It's going to get worse.
Yeah, exactly. We can see the end of this crap storm. But I think the reason conservatives are more upset is if you look at it, once it becomes a four-person race, it actually hurts Trump more than Hillary. The libertarian, Gary Johnson, takes more away from Trump than Hillary, which would seem counterintuitive, but if people are looking at the numbers, it's pretty consistent.
What the devil was one up
and
to?
I think that's pretty telling.
Your meow just
sure. So I'm not in this to get Trump elected, and I'm not in this to get Hillary elected.
Exactly.
I'm in this because I want to have some sort of battle of ideas.
Right.
And I think if you really want to have a battle of ideas, think about it right now. Forget the Republican side, because that's
your doing, is it not?
So let's just go on the Democratic side, where you did not, and would not ever like Bernie or Hillary, right?
No.
But imagine if Bernie would have, when they laid down the law with him at the DNC, and they had said, you're going to endorse her, and you're going to blah, blah, blah. Imagine if he had been like, you know what? No, I'm not going to do it. Sorry. All the young people. I'm running third party. What sort of, that would have been a revolution, even if he would have lost. His revolution is now dead. And you know whose revolution is here? It's the alt-right revolution, because Hillary is now name-checking them. So she killed the Bernie revolution, and last week she gave a speech mentioning the alt-right, and now Pepe the Frog is more influential than Bernie. Now that's the truth.
actually an interesting way to look at it. But I would also end it with this. Bernie Sanders was a spineless amoeba who went along with the establishment because he wasn't willing to fight back anymore. It's a lot easier to fight against the stereotype you build up of Republicans. When it's your own party, it's tougher. Dave Rubin, Rubin Report on YouTube. We'll be back more with him. News just in the nick of time with Nick Nolte.
This week you got Colin Kaepernick sitting down to the national anthem, claiming he won't honor the flag that oppresses black people. Got an $8 million salary, Colin Kaepernick. That's his right to not have that. Salute the flag. When you play football as America's sport, you're going to honor that flag. He's not even black. Hell, I saw him. I thought he worked at a Lebanese diner. He's not even black. He's not even black.
That was news in the nick of time with Nick Nolte.
You're a strange animal, that's what I know. But you're a strange animal, I got to follow. Oh, I'm in the speed.
Glad to be back. Our guest is checking his phone because he has to go to another important phone call. He's got stuff to do. Rubin Report on YouTube. Dave.
I just posted a video. Let's go.
What? We're listening. We're live. You realize this is a live. We're not live. We're live. You're on. They can hear you.
No, I know. You're trying to pit me out, and I'm talking over you. I'm a better host than I am guest. I apologize.
I wonder. It's got to be tough to have Larry King as a guest.
I'm going to have him in here in a couple of weeks. I love Larry. He's such a great. I've told you. I mean, the guy is just. Crowder, if either one of us combined have the amount of stuff firing in his brain, in our brains. I don't have to have it now. When we're his age, the guy's just a warrior.
And right at the age of, what is he, 112?
16.
116. It's old school Abraham, and he's going to have like a 4-year-old. So I don't know. He's not even going to give birth. He's going to come out a 4-year-old. I remember that. Sometimes if you watch that show, it can be very on point, and sometimes it gets really awkward. Like, he interviewed Andrew WK. He goes, Andrew WK, there's a rumor that you're not real. True?
Well, there's something to be said about the daily interview. Think about the booking that goes into that. Today you're interviewing a rapper. Tomorrow you're interviewing the Secretary of State. The next day you're interviewing an ex-con. The next day you're interviewing, an actor. It's like you have to really be kind of all over the place and understand enough stuff. That's why I like doing the once a week interview.
Iced tea, not the beverage. That's what he has to spell it out sometimes. Okay, before we went to the break, best place is youtube.com/Rubin Report. Where's the best place for people to find you?
You can go to RubinReport.com or on iTunes, Rubin Report, Twitter, Rubin Report. Our branding's pretty solid. If you just type in Rubin Report on whatever you're doing, you'll find it.
He's not with the Young Turks anymore. Sometimes people are going to say that. No, he's not. We want to clarify that. So
no. How do I get one of those things that erases my internet history or whatever?
I don't think you do. I think you have to take.
Don't you have to pay for that? There's somebody you pay. That cleans that shit up.
I don't think
it's called a Clinton.
Yeah, it's called a Clinton. It's called Get the Clinton email machine. It's like the killing floor with beef. They just walk in, it's just blades. So you were talking about interesting, discussion of ideas. Okay, listen, you and I disagree on quite a bit. I came on your show. You talked about you got more backlash than you anticipated, and we see a lot of people coming in who were liberals coming into our show. We get thousands of emails and comments saying, "I never thought of it." I think the tides are turning a little bit. But I will say this, we never, this, I've been dealing with bullies my whole life. I talked about being bullied as a kid. We still get bullied from people at mainstream networks, whether it's, we don't need, there's so many networks, MSNBC, Comedy Central, calling us out, or people online. And we always say, my only trash talk is, sure, I accept. And we only call out people if we're willing to offer them recourse. I think you and I find common ground with that. Do you think, being sort of a moderate classical liberal,
yeah.
do you think liberals are far more likely, this has been my experience, far more likely to call someone out and hide behind a network or not show up when debate time occurs?
So this is one thing where I think you're slightly just missing the definition, and it's just because everyone gets sort of in their own thing. So a liberal, no. A real liberal, a classic liberal, no. But what you're talking about is people on the left. Right. So but that's an important distinction, and I know it's kind of splitting hairs sometimes, and people don't even understand really what that means. But a liberal, if you were to Google classic liberal right now, basically all it says is that you use logic and reason to come to your conclusions, and you are not so wed to a conclusion that if new information changes that you won't change. That's what makes me a liberal. And most people, that's how most people actually behave. You learn something, and then it shouldn't just stop. You continue learning, and you might change what you think. Now, to your point about leftists, which, yeah, most of the Democrats now are leftists. Most of the people that people think are liberal are leftists. Yeah, they're a bunch of pathetic cowards, and all of the people that I mock mercilessly on Twitter, I've invited all of them on my show, openly invited all of them on my show. I've invited Cenk on my show. I've invited Reza, Greenwald, and the rest of these clowns. But no, they'd rather slander and smear and lie about people on their own forums. Just this week, this this Mike.com, this website Mike.com.
Oh, yeah. They did the whole thing, the 69, the vote.
Yeah, so they did something, and they wrote about, and I was included in it. They had reached out to me to be in some article about the alt-right something, and I declined because I could tell that the article was just going to be bullshit.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to forward.
That happened with me in the Daily Beast once, and they wrote it anyway. Yeah. So I was like, oh,
well, wait. So they wrote it anyway, and in it he refers to me as right-winger Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin. Yeah. So I screen capped it. I called the guy out on Twitter. It got I did it a couple times. It got hundreds and thousands of retweets and likes. I tagged the writer. I tagged Mike. I tagged the editor-in-chief. Then none of these guys have any Twitter following, so to speak, get any traction, and they didn't respond. They just refuse. So it's like they write their stuff,
right,
and then they won't respond. They won't engage. They won't acknowledge. They won't retract. That's not liberal. But that's leftist to do that.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I use the term because it's a term that people understand, but I say those on the left. Even then, though, with liberal, I would say, like we'd released this climate change video, and the response right away was so predictable. They clearly hadn't watched it. We said, listen, I'm not the one saying anybody should be jailed. I'm not saying the Earth isn't getting warmer. Calling someone a science denier and deferring to a 97% statistic, which is completely bogus, and we go into why it's bogus. If you can't make the case, I say in the video, if you can't make the case, you have no business simply deferring to someone who you think makes it for you and calling your opposition an idiot. I wouldn't debate a scientist, but I would debate all the commentators who tell everyone else they're not scientists, and I would host a debate between two actual scientists. But that's one of those things where a lot of people shut off their mind, and it's dogmatic, it's religious, the neo-environmentalism.
Well, look, Crowder, not to give away our secret to all of our enemies, but the reason that people like what you do and like what I do is that we are open-minded enough and secure enough to sit across from somebody and have some stuff challenged. And I know I don't pretend all the time to know everything. I don't think you do either.
No.
I've had Michael Mann on my show, who is one of the leading climate scientists in the world, who came up with the hockey stick theory, right?
Yeah.
And then just 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I had Alex Epstein from the Center for Industrial Progress.
The moral case for fossil fuels.
Guess what? I let them both have their say, and I'd love to have them both on together to fight it out.
That would be great. We have to let you go pretty soon. So youtube.com/Rubin Report, and I'll give you credit too. For a guy who's so pretty, he's got some balls. He's willing to get in there. He's willing to swing. He is willing to.
My camera was too low.
No, he's willing. No, that's Larry King. They have to put a stool underneath his chair. So Rubin is willing to stand in the pocket and trade. and right or left, he's honest. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on the show, brother. We'll have to have you back soon when we get the new studio. I mean, we're not getting a new studio. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Cut it. Shut up. Shut up. Stop speaking. And now it's time for your Dating Advice Minute with Bill Cosby.
Now, this week's letter comes to me from Representative Anthony Weiner in the state of New York City, undisclosed. He writes, Mr. Cosby, I have found myself in a predicament of hot water. Namely because I've been unfaithful to the mom of the wife, because there's some Instagram models with pictures of me, more specifically, Mr. down below the belt line. He goes on to say that this is self-inflicted because he can't stop sending pictures of and wants to know how to handle the situation. Now, Mr. Weiner, I'm at a level with you. I don't know a whole lot about the Apple phone and the iComputer with all the technology. Back when I was in the game with the Mac, I was more traditional. I didn't need the internet. I didn't need the Apple Store with applications. All I needed was some coffee and some drugs. So my advice, if you could get the wife to meet you for coffee and get some drugs and the coffee, then you take the whole hip-hop,
This has been your Dating Advice Minute with Bill Cosby. Glad to be back. All things considered, pretty good with the YouTube ban and all the shenanigans going on this evening.
Pretty
We're going
good.
to have Courtney Kirchhoff coming on to talk about her online dating experiences.
Yes, she blogged about that a bit.
Not political. It was so funny. I had to bring her on for that. We'll need to get the iPad going there with her.
Yeah, I'm all set up here.
Of course, producing with me in the video studio, as always, is my producer, who is not gay, at NotGayJared. I don't care about your conclusions. I want to talk about, this is one of our top stories of the week. We put it in the queue Sunday night, or Sunday morning. Lauren Southern got to it first, actually, God bless her, so she did. And then we ran the story on Monday morning. This went everywhere, it went viral. And then we'll get to this week in social justice outrage. It's become a favorite for many of you listeners. We appreciate you tuning in. This was a girl who got into a Lyft vehicle, and she was absolutely furious. I think she was drunk. Furious over a hula dancer. She found it offensive. So I think I've laid the groundwork. Isn't there much, Steven, isn't there more to it than that? No. Let's watch the clip.
I want you to, because it's actually deeply offensive. No, I do want you to take it down.
Alright, well, I mean, obviously you're going to give me a 1 star, but I'm not taking it down.
Oh, you're going to give me 1 star.
I'm going to do worse than give you a 1 star.
So this is the woman berating him for having a hula dancer, demanding he takes it down.
To my destination.
And then when he says, I'll drop you off, she's saying, no, you're going to do everything I want you to do.
That's okay. You're going to be on Gawker. No, you will be published on Gawker.
Okay.
And you'll be like,
this is
the next
important.
internet.
Because this goes back to what we're talking about. Liberals are bullies. They're cowards. Leftists are cowardly bullies. Whether it's anyone whether it's Pierce Morgan, whether it's the Young Turks, whether it's Michael Woods Jr., whether it's the people on whatever the networks are, who have Twitters who go after you, their whole goal is to simply bully you. Right here, she's not saying, hey, we have a disagreement, it's offensive. She says, I'm going to put you on Gawker.
Gawker.
I wish we had a clip from Joe Rogan, his
Oh,
girl
I can't wait.
voice.
It's so great.
That he does. He does his dumb girl voice. It sounds just like this. So what she's really saying, you need to understand this. It's not little, it's not benign. The reason this went viral is because she's saying, I'm going to destroy your life. Listen, I've been front page Gawker. Same thing with Salon.com. All they do is attack conservatives. We invited people from Gawker on the show when they created memes, when they attacked things that I've said. I've talked about this. My only trash talk is I accept. If someone calls me out like Gawker, Pierce Morgan has, I mean, the list is so long. I don't know how much time we have to list it, and they don't show up, they're a coward. And this is what happened with this woman. She's saying, I'm going to put you on Gawker. Here's something that's important. This is mainstream to the left, and I've talked about this, but let me give you an example. People say, well, no, that's just Gawker, some small site. No. Gawker or Salon. Let's go with Gawker. Right here, I have it on my computer, the Alexa ranking for Gawker. It's about 1,000 worldwide, top 1,000 sites, and it's 310 in the United States. So let's go to a comparable site. Breitbart is a little better, about 800 and 216. And they kind of go back and forth each day. Let's go to Daily Caller, one of the biggest conservative sites. Not even close. 23,000 is the rank worldwide. The rank in the United States is 501. Back to Gawker, 310, 1,000. So when people say Gawker is just some inconsequential leftist, no. Gawker is getting their marching orders from Hillary Clinton, from Bernie Sanders, and they are way bigger than conservative websites. This is mainstream. The fact that this girl understands Gawker will be her attack dogs, she is so confident that they are just as closed-minded and feeble-willed as her that they will go after a Lyft driver for a hula girl, who, by the way, is probably a Democrat himself. The reason this went viral is because it's emblematic of the left. And I hope people are waking up to it. We have more and more people saying, hey, you know, I used to be a liberal. Just as Republicans have to accept maybe the monster that they see with Donald Trump. You know, some of them are unhappy with it. I don't really think he's a monster. I disagree with him on a lot of issues, but they're really upset and they're maybe planning this coup against him. Liberals who used to be, they need to accept that they've created the monster of the social justice left. You can't, all these people now saying, oh, Gawker, Salon, and all these commenters, and all these people now who are anti-social justice leftists, well, let's be honest. Gawker is a huge site because of people like you, or Salon, or Huffington Post. Huffington Post is far bigger than anything on the right, and this is what they push as mainstream, that there's 58 genders. They use their main page.
Update just 59 now. Go
There's 59 genders? Yeah. Actually, I think there's 60-something genders.
There's something?
By the way, these are the people who tell you you're a science denier.
Yahoo.
If you're skeptical of Bernie's legislation on climate change, but biological sex is a figment of your imagination. So the Lyft story, we have it at louderwithcrowder.com. Again, with all of these things going on social media, please just bookmark the website, sign up for the mailing list. It's all free because we're never going daily. And this segues perfectly into our weekly segment this week in social justice outrage.
Oh, dear God!
Trigglypuff in there?
Little Trigglypuff
Stop
action.
bullying her. Leave her alone. So we have a few stories this week. Nagi Jared, you often compile these. What this generally centers around Kaepernick this week, right?
Yeah, all Kaepernick stuff here.
So let's bring up the first one. Is Kaepernick made his... Oh, all right. So was it Tony
Stewart. Tony Stewart.
Tony Stewart. Oh, hold on a second. You just switched it.
Here we go.
Was Tony Stewart, he's the one who said he's not black?
You can see his tweets right there. Top
said,
left.
I'm sorry. Kaepernick needs to learn the fact about police before running his dumbass mouth. He has no clue what they go through. And then people, of course, were furious at him. Jerry Rice, this was a big one. Jerry Rice, one of the best football players of all time.
Yep.
Kaepernick won't even go down probably as one of the better quarterbacks for the 49ers. Jerry Rice said all lives matter. So much going on in this world today. Can we just all get along? Colin, I respect your stance, but I don't. Go back. You don't need to change these things. Why, is this timed?
No, I just
stay on Jerry Rice right now. People, of course, what do? They call Jerry Rice and Uncle Tom. You're not really black. So Kaepernick, who's not really black, is black because he hates the flag. Jerry Rice, who simply said all lives matter, he's not black. The reason that may be, by the way, we wrote about it at louderwithcrowder.com, there was a letter sent out to the DNC saying, hey, don't ever, 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 ever say all lives matter. That's actually really incendiary, and they acknowledge that Black Lives Matter is a radical group, so they don't want to tick them off. We have it up at the website. They have circulated this to their own. Don't ever say all lives matter. It's offensive, and they shoot stuff and they blow stuff up. So maybe that's why people are so offended at Jerry Rice for something that would seem benign. The other one was Tiki Barber, talked about Colin Kaepernick. He said Cape is using his platform and brand to make a compelling and polarizing point, which is his right, even if it's met with ire. Wow, that's really articulately put there.
It is.
And the responses, of course, from the Black Twitter, Malcolm X said, anytime you get a black man speaking with power, they find the nearest Uncle Tom to counter with what he said. Tiki Barber and Jerry Rice. Right away, it's the Cenk attack, right? They say, oh, he left his wife. Oh, you went to jail. You have unpaid parking tickets.
Tony Stewart, oh, you ran over a guy.
Oh, you ran. Well, that's pretty bad.
Well, he was also on weed and running down a race car track in the middle of a race.
How did you run down a guy? Was it the guy just...
He was so mad. He got out of the car, started charging Tony Stewart as he was racing around the track on the track. He was also, and they found weed in the system, so I can't
He hit the guy?
He accidentally ran him over.
And then the guy chased him because he was mad?
No.
The guy chased him and then he ran him over.
At the point of running over, that kind of ended the event.
That's what that ended the altercation.
The altercation was over.
I was not up to date on this.
Yeah, so that was the big attack. Hey, you killed a guy. You killed a guy, and
we killed him?
Yeah, he's dead.
Well, that's pretty bad then. That's a legitimate grievance.
It is.
But it doesn't have anything to do with the
yeah.
Uncle Tom.
Doesn't
exactly. And this is what they do because they want. Listen, we've had Alfonso Rachel on it. It's one thing to me. It's got to be really hard to be a black non-leftist. It's got to be really hard for people telling you what you have to think. We get it as being millennials. I can't believe you're a conservative. I can't believe you should feel the burn. But not nearly as bad as black Americans, where they are just. I mean, they lose friends, they lose relatives if they just say, you know what, I don't think the Democrats have done a great job with black people.
Also, an outrage this week. Should note is Tim Tebow's back in the
news.
Tim
Tebow was in the news.
This infuriated people playing baseball, and
I don't think that's accurate.
That's probably not accurate. But
that image with Tim Tebow.
It certainly ticked some people off.
I don't know anything about baseball. Tim Tebow had these tryouts for baseball.
Yeah.
Was any good?
He actually above average in several categories, and on average or a little below in some others. But he'll probably make a minor league team. They say.
Would he be comparable to other people who would make minor league teams?
Yeah.
Okay. Because the
funny enough, the one he struggled in the most was
the throwing. The throwing. I know. You would think of all the things.
But he's fast. He's fast.
He's fast and he can hit hard. Tim Tebow trying to go after a new career in baseball. Here's my view on it. If Tim Tebow wants to do it and a team wants to hire him, great. Good for him. I don't get the Tim Tebow hate. And the fact that Tim Tebow was just absolutely destroyed, just all systems go, all scopes, get him in the crosshairs because he bowed his head in an end zone, Tim Tebow, and then they praise and they laud, they just heap it on someone like Kaepernick for not standing for the flag. It is unbelievable to me, and you have to, even if you're a leftist, you have to go, all right, it just seems like even 2,000 years after his death, Christ is still pissing people off. There's something when it comes to the Christian deal that people get really touchy and upset. I understand.
It's funny too because he wasn't even a bad quarterback, Tim Tebow. Look at his record. People, if you look at it carefully, people have written about it. All the guy did was win. But I think the Christian card kind of.
Didn't he throw some bad fumbles or something like that followed him around?
Everybody has bad fumbles, but he took them to the playoffs, which Denver hadn't been in a while.
Yeah, no, I don't know a whole lot about football, but I do know. It's here's the deal too. People need to understand this about Tim Tebow. His biggest value isn't just his athletic ability. I understand sports are meritocracy, but putting butts in seats and having a guy who elevates your team and having a guy who creates a bond with your team is very important. Leadership is important. Think of Paul Newman, the Charleston Chiefs, and Slapshot.
Take him over at Johnny Manziel any day.
Yeah, absolutely. Take him over when T.O. used to every team he was on. People are just saying he's corrosive. That is something that's of value. And you know what? If a coach says, "Hey, we need that on our team. We need a rallying point," why would you be on board with a Rudy and praise that film and see it as inspiring and not say, you know what? Everyone who's been on a team with Tim Tebow says, "Hey, he's a good guy and he helps the team." It's one of those things I'll never figure out. Just don't bow your head and pray. It's unacceptable. Crap on the flag or burn it. Courtney Kirchhoff next. Thank you for using Uber. Where should I take you today, ma'am? Wait, did you just call me ma'am? What the f? Oh, there's no need for profanity. What's your name?
And you just say where to take me? Like, I can't take myself?
You called me.
Oh, what? Like, this is some patriarchal dating game where if I call you, that means I want to you?
You're clearly the one who signed up for Uber.
Okay. Oh, you're gonna be on Gawker. You're gonna be a meme on Gawker.
I'm gonna stop using Uber.
Let's do it! We won!
Glad to be here. Glad to
Are
be
you
with
really, though?
I'm not that happy to be here. One thing I will say, the hardest thing to do in entertainment people talk about is doing 3 hours of radio. That's what everyone says. We basically do 3 hours of television with this deal, going back and forth, and I can't let people know that I'm reading my notes. If you ever see someone on radio, they're just reading their papers. And because we try and connect with you, look at this.
Watch
Just stare at
this!
that bald baby you.
Stop it.
Here
What is with you?
I just see pictures of bald babies
Why?
on Twitter.
Why do you see so many pictures of bald babies? There's a
Nothing-
pandemic
I
of
assume
bald
the
babies in
I
your
assume
Twitter.
someone's tweeting fur babies. I mean, maybe they're tweeting. I shan't judge.
No, this is not a
Nor
John
soon.
Travolta, Kirstie Alley film circa 1994. Although I do particularly like it when babies talk like adults. Well, we have a guest on. If you hear this theme song, you know exactly who it is. You hear it, and you go, wait, who's that? Oh. Oh, I know who it is now. It's Courtney Kirchhoff. At Courtney Scoffs on Twitter. She doesn't look happy to be here. Courtney, what are you mad at us?
Thrilled to be here. I can't wait to talk about how my life is a dumpster fire.
Oh, your life is not a dumpster fire, but you were telling, for those listening, if you're going, why don't you talk about Hillary Clinton more? Listen, we've covered it. Shut up. This is funny. She sucks. She sucks. We get it. Donald Trump had a really good week. I'm becoming more of a fan. There you go. Put it in headlines. Hashtag Never Daily. But Courtney was telling me about dating. And so, okay, tell us, you hired, right? Is this how it works? Because you didn't want to go through the online dumpster fire of dating. So you actually...
That is a dumpster fire. I don't want to do that again.
Yes.
Also, guys, just as advice, if you're online dating, women hate you holding up a picture of a dead fish. We don't want to see it. Take it down. Enough with the dead fish.
Is that a
We're
thing?
done. Yes.
Men hold pictures of dead fish?
I killed this. It's like, the selfie thing that they do. It's just stop.
Okay. Well, I wasn't aware of this. It's kind of like the duck face for women, I guess. It's the dead fish for men.
And that's the other. I'm sure women are doing really annoying things too. I'm not dating women.
It's the duck lips. It's the duck lips.
Duck lips? It's duck lips. Well, let's
With
let
the
this
shade.
happen. So, okay, so you what is it? You hired a dating service?
Yes, I hired a team of professionals to help me find, hopefully not a beta male, which is what's kind of out there.
Well, you've gotten a lot of crap because you wrote an article as a conservative feminist, and of course, all these beta males just get furious. This is what happens. Courtney knows she's strong enough, and what they always do is attack your appearance or say you're a slut. All of those things.
The C word. The
Yes.
C word is the big one.
Well, these are people who respect women, Courtney. So you need to get with the program. So you told me. So okay, you go to this dating program. So you actually.
So to set up this properly, I didn't tell you. You called me. And we're gonna talk about something totally unrelated. I'm sure it had something to do with work. And you're like, so how much do professional matchmakers cost? That's how it started. It wasn't even hello, how are you?
It's true.
How are things going? It's hey, let's get this over with.
Well, I just figured there was no way to ease into it. You don't need to let them know the price, because then the golden ticket is going to fill up because, everyone's getting rich off of this. So you did this, you hired a dating service. How does that work?
Okay, so you go in and it's like a job interview, but for a position I am woefully unqualified for, that being a wife. And they ask the regular things, what do you do? What do you like to do? What's your job like? Do you like your job? boring stuff, and then they want to ask you about your dating.
Well,
She answered.
you don't have to
Notice
like your
that.
job because you don't have to have one. Continue.
So that's been the problem with some of the men that I've been dating is they've not really had good jobs, so I kind of wanted to eliminate those. Sorry, guys, who don't have good jobs, but
I ain't saying she's a gold digger.
yeah. At least, you know, make enough to take a girl out. Come on.
This is true. Okay, so you go in, and I know your type, right? You say go-getting,
We can do
type A
this.
male,
Yes.
probably has to be conservative because,
Yes.
I mean, not only what you do, but I don't see you making it with someone who's not. So
No, it would be hard for me to go long term with a liberal. Someone who's apolitical, maybe, but because this is what I do as a career, you know, what do you do for a living? I'm in conservative media. It's not going to go over well when he says I voted for Bernie Sanders, because at some point he's going to get my last name. He's going to Google me on the first page. It's going to be dear men who vote Bernie Sanders, you're not men at all.
Not if he changed that last name first.
this is true. He might change it for you. Might become a Mr. Kirchhoff. Okay, so you give him all this stuff, and they set you up on a date. Make sure you remember, describe for our listener, the listener here with our warm voices in the radio, what this person looks like.
Okay, so I have to preface, fitness is huge for me. This is why I'm wearing this particular outfit.
Courtney is very fit. Courtney is very fit. Not just for a woman, she's fit.
Okay, so it's a number one priority for me. I tell them that, like, the overweight thing is a non-negotiable. Don't send me on a date with someone who's overweight. I delivered that message fairly clearly. You can see where this is going, okay?
I don't know. I don't want to guess. I want to hear it.
Okay, so actually the first date was fine. It was with someone, he was a nice guy. Didn't work out because he voted for Bernie Sanders.
Okay.
First guy. Okay, so that's not going to work. So I said, and after the first date, I gave them my feedback. This is important. Gave them my feedback, narrowed it down because this is what I'm looking for. Really needs to be conservative, Christian preferred, and I like men who are slender to muscular, not.
Did the Bernie guy go Dutch? Did he pay?
No, he paid for it. No, these are good guys.
We can do this.
Guys, it's expensive to sign up for this service. They're making good money anyway. So, second date. Or we have to go to a break for
hold on. You have a minute, so go.
Okay.
We did it.
The movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes.
Think of that. Remember the principal?
Rooney?
Ed Rooney. Yeah, Ed Rooney. When I showed up for my date, they told me he was a really good dresser and that I should wear something nice, like a summer dress. So I went out shopping, got a summer dress, and when I saw my date, he was like Ed Rooney, only with man boobs and a big stomach hanging over his belt.
Okay, we do have to go to a break on that note. Hold that thought. That's always weird. You know the worst part is if the guy has belly crotch, where it's just a belly and a crotch. They don't delineate. Be back.
Watch this.
For breaking news on Hollow with Crowder, I'm Perry Matheson. Amidst a brutal attack advertising campaign against his rival Hopper for President 2016, Sheldon Acorns of his Squirrel Pharmaceuticals finds himself in the middle of yet another tumultuous sexting scandal. These recent graphic images have surfaced, and here on Louder with Crowder, we have an exclusive statement from Sheldon himself.
Listen, this is to be expected. It's pretty much par for the course. And 124 billion of us on here, you shouldn't be surprised. And I think it's fairly clear that Hopper's trying to distract from the real issues, that he has a painkiller addiction, he's unfit for office, and his running mate is not even American.
Watch
He's
this.
Japanese. And this is clearly a non-issue because it's very common in the squirrel community for us to have open marriages. And as you can see from the photographic evidence, he, by the way, has yet to be verified. Let's not forget. Pretty nice big package.
Well, keep your breath as the story unfolds. For Louder with Crowder, I'm Perry Matheson.
We've won.
glad to be back at Courtney Scoffs, who was on. Just had to sit through that horrible commercial break. All right, so you show up. You should have gone.
Edward Rooney?
You go on a date with Ed Rooney. The belly hanging over.
And look,
if this guy's watching the show, I'm going to feel so bad.
Look, that's the thing. He was a fine person, okay? And I want to say that. I'm really sorry, Ed Rooney, if you're watching. I am.
So much worse.
Truly. Because I told these people, no. Someone who, is fit and can...
Have you fired them at least now? They clearly didn't listen.
So, here's the thing. Like, I was as polite as I possibly could be. We were at a bar.
For you, that still can be rough.
Yeah, that's true. We were at a bar, so we were sitting next to each other, and every time he would make a point, he would touch me. He would touch my arm. And it's
hold on a second. For people listening terrestrially, that looks like a punch.
Okay.
It looks like that's either something like you're doing weird sex stuff.
I felt like doing back to him, like a hammer fist, like stop touching me. I know I give out mixed signals sometimes, but it's usually, I never give out the signal, please touch me.
Right.
So I was there like making myself as small as I possibly could be. There were two gay guys sitting next to me who, fortunately enough, we provided entertainment for them because after the date, they said, oh my gosh, it was so clear that you were having a horrible time. I can't even believe he asked for your phone number.
He was actually there for them. He was a bear, and they were interested in him. Just happened to cross
and they
his
did
path.
tell me that I was polite, but they told me if that's the best the matchmaking service can do, you need to fire them.
So you asked for a Corvette, and they delivered the mystery machine.
No, they
minus
delivered a rapist van.
Minus the paint, so it's just a rape van.
Yeah, I asked for a Ford Mustang. They sent me an Ecoline van.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. That was paneled, and it says free puppies and candy in at Trul's grade schools. So you've gone back in now. Do they have more dates set up for you?
They provide a refund.
So I went on a date after that with a guy they'd already set me up with who told me that he was going to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Let's go!
So I'm like, okay. And he had told the dating service, I don't want to date somebody who's going to vote for Trump. I'm like, well, to be fair, I don't know that I'm going to vote for Trump. But yeah, it's like, what are you people, specifically, I mean conservative media, this isn't going to work out. Like if it, anyway.
So did you fire them after that?
I sent them a letter as only I could with jokes and
those are probably some brutal. Those are brutal jokes. You know those are brutal
jokes. Someone's reading to the NSA. It's like, gonna kill their children. Why would you write this?
LOL.
Look, I had to run to a ferry one time from a parking lot to the ferry. It was probably like a quarter of a mile, and I wasn't out of breath. And I said, you shouldn't set me up with somebody who couldn't do the same. If he can't, if it's someone who can't do, and I described that he had not taken Kramer's advice and worn the man's ear that evening.
Right.
So, like, could you not?
Okay, so are you giving them another shot, or are you done with this dating? Because right now, AR15.com, there are people saying, I mean, the problem is you throw that line of people if they don't like you because they're concerned, they're just going to say you're ugly and you suck, and then the people who do like you really like you. I mean, so...
But let's be honest, you would have been better off going to a bus stop and flipping it. The only expense would have been the coin you flipped.
Jared.
Just show up to the Greyhound bus station and say, I'm ovulating, and see what happens.
Yeah, that's not the issue.
I'm horrible at being single. I would never do it very well.
It's not, I'm an expert at it, and that's kind of why I want to move on, try something else. I'd like to try my hand at petty jealousy and passive aggression.
But the thing is, it's not, if you look at Twitter, you look at the message boards right now, it's not that, and you can tweet her at Courtney Scoffs, it's not that there aren't suitors, it's,
Let's go!
We do have higher standards. My wife is that way too. My wife never had a serious boyfriend. She dated a lot more guys. She actually dated the governor's son. That's the governor's son.
Wow.
Well, I don't know. She was. The guy was not. He was nice. I shouldn't get into this. But anyway, but she didn't have a long-term boyfriend because for her it was okay. I've gone on a few dates. This guy's not for me. And so that's got to be hard today. Men are confused, and I think women are.
Men are very confused, and that is one reason I don't like feminism. Men aren't really sure if they should take the lead or not. So if I like a guy, I will tell him straight up I'm not a feminist, and we'll try to encourage him to take the lead. But at some point, it's like, you guys need to. I've given you permission. I'll make you a sandwich, okay? You decide what we're doing on the date, and I'll just show up and be pretty and make you a sandwich later, okay? Like, it's fine. Take the lead. A lot of men of our generation are afraid to do that, and they've been told that it's not right to do that. So it's not easy.
Well, the problem is you have guys who go the other way. These people who try and sell testosterone supplements, or hint, it's zinc. It's always zinc. And they're like, testosterone, pickup culture, alpha male, this kind of stuff. And so those guys go out, and they're just entitled. I mean, these are scared little boys trying to act like men. And then on the flip side, and that's a blowback because of feminism, because of this sort of creating androgynous cultures with the social justice stuff. Telling men you should cry, you should be more sensitive. And so you've got two sides. And I'm very fortunate that I had a good who modeled that. I don't think many young men do anymore.
Well, right. So you guys, I think all of us, well, just the three of us, we were raised by our parents. So already we're ahead. A lot of millennials, guys and gals, are the product of divorce. They have several step-parents. They went to daycare. They didn't have that good foundation of what a healthy relationship actually is.
Well, even
so they're not really sure what to do.
Divorce, but it didn't absolve the man of teaching them how to do man stuff.
Right.
And I don't mean chugging beer, but I mean,
being responsible, providing.
Well, we were
basics.
talking about cussing earlier. I don't cuss around women I don't know, just because, again, it's a way I was raised. There are some times, and we've had conversations where, listen, a joke gets rolling, but I would never act that way with someone I don't know, and I'll just see other guys doing it and talking with a girl trying to pick them up.
It's unbecoming.
Yeah.
It's unbecoming.
And I don't think that's not why are you judging. It's not me. Well, it is judging. It's not me telling you how to live your life, but it is an innate perception.
I think people miss the value too of growing up. Even the simple things simple things that seem simple on the onset, but are transition and translate to bigger deals. Like your dad teaching you how to change a tire in a car. Teaching you these various things of the guy things like you're mentioning, but they translate into responsibility. Dad teaching you how to handle a firearm.
I can't change a tire.
I
could do it like
windshield wipers.
I could do it like clockwork on my Datsun, my first car. But it was a very odd sort of European style jack. And the jack that came with my car, I don't know how to use it, but it works. So
That's fair.
On that one, I was changing them all the time, but I haven't done it.
But you know what I mean, though, those moments you grow up as a man that teach you what it means to care for things, be responsible, take care of others. If it's your mom's thing.
You're a woman, and so obviously your mom taught you how to be a woman. But did your dad teach you what it is to be a man, what to look for in a man? Is that why you think you're a little more, I guess people would say picky, but I just think have actual standards. Did your dad instill it in you, or is that just something you kind of
My dad was, so my mom would pull me and my sister aside every once in a while when she was dealing with my dad and say, she actually said a couple of times, take notes. So I think a lot of people haven't had that with their parents. But yeah, my dad had a job, he worked, he was responsible, he came home, he played with us, he did things with us. So I have this expectation, I guess, of the man that I married to be a provider, to play with his children, to be a good husband. These are just, people say they're high standards now, and that, I guess, is.
I don't think it's a high standard. I just think it's
I don't think
standard.
It's a high standard either. I think it should be baseline, but right now baseline is straight, has a pulse, and that's really
can feed himself.
It's semi-clean.
Well, you should talk with me. I'm not one because but listen, it's something that people don't really accept now too with marriage, and it stems back from this idea that you're perfect just the way you are. Your songs, actually, no, you're not. You're very flawed. And people need to understand that they're very flawed and their spouse will be very flawed. There is no Mr. Right. There is no Mr. Perfect.
So yeah, and that's when I talked to the matchmakers, I said these are just basic things. I don't know who it is I'm supposed to be with. So I can be open to that, but it certainly needs to have the same values, and we need to want the same things. But there is no such thing as a perfect man, and there's no such thing as a perfect woman. I'm sure I'm going to drive whoever I marry, if I ever get married, I'm going to drive him insane every once in a while. That's just what happens.
My wife does that, and I do that with my wife. And I can tell you this.
Marriage. That's why I want to give it a shot.
You were certainly not.
See how close to the edge I can take it.
She does it joking, but I get a sense that's actually what you do. Let's see how. No, I think here's the thing. I do think, and I've talked to you about this, and people are, and this is why I think that AR-15 guys all over right now just love Courtney. I do think that you give off this sort of maybe a little bit more stern than you are. And I think to a lot of men you're scared because a lot of men are weak. My wife was that way. My wife was not at all, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you, right away. As a matter, we were both pretty standoffish. And for me at that time, you know, I was appearing a lot in television. Not that I'm anything special. In the realm of actors, I'm a moderate-looking guy. In the realm of stand-up comedians at a nightclub, I'm getting close to 10, you know, with the old guy with the puppet. So, not that she was a challenge, but just, okay, here's a little self-respect. And so I think that just going to narrow the field for you, you know, always be nice, be warm, helps.
It could be the fact that she has an AR-15 and buys her ammo in bulk.
This is true.
Throw her something else.
Did you show it to her like Uncle Buck with his hatchet? Him, sir.
Bug? Nat.
Yeah.
Bug? Nat.
Yeah.
Are we seeing any similarities here?
So, let's say you show up. What's the ideal guy? Okay, let's say you show up with, could you say fitness? So what's your barometer for fitness for you?
So that I'm not going to specify that. It's someone who, because some people are runners, they're not weightlifters. Some people like to go hiking. Well, I'm just saying, see, with your face, you're not dating him, I am. So you know, come on.
Oh, just
be nice.
Runners. They're smaller than you, but without breasts.
They can be, yeah.
Sprinters fine, but the long distance runners, that's all they do. They always run down this block without shirts, and I always judge when they always yell, "Get a shirt with a body like that. Get a shirt on."
Yeah.
And they don't like it because they fancy themselves fit.
Especially with the PPQ.
Yes, with my welfare. Yeah.
Well, I've told the matchmakers, people can tell when they first see me that I'm fit. It should kind of be probably the same with him. You should look at him and know he does something. He doesn't need to be a Conan. He doesn't need to be Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone or Rich Froning. Doesn't have to. Just someone who takes care of himself.
Right.
Come on, face it.
Well, this is just something that people, you know, they talk about. Stop, Jared. You get it.
Like Jared.
Yes.
I don't want to describe you to friends as comparing you to an aquatic mammal.
You don't want to have to make preemptive excuses for the man's physique to your friend. Like, but he's got a great personality and he's a good dresser. Okay, Courtney, at Courtney Scoffs, LottoWithPetter.com. She wrote a brilliant column this week. Courtney, thank you so much for being with us. And keep us updated because the lines are lighting up. People are very interested. But be nice to her, everybody. She's a nice lady. Even if she's a good-looking gal, you treat her like a lady. We'll wrap this up after this. Thanks for riding Uber. Where can I take you today?
To the Parkway Mall.
Okay, I'll take a shortcut. I think I can do this through traffic.
Uber driver just tried to rape me.
What was that back there?
Oh, nothing. He's doing it again.
Is the temperature okay? Would you like some music?
No, I'm fine. The rape, it never stopped.
Okay, just let me know.
Hold on a second. Is that a tree-shaped air freshener?
Gotta keep the car smelling good for the passengers.
Are you aware of the current deforestation epidemic that is causing a rise in CO2 and killing the polar bears? What? Hey, I'm back. Yeah, he's definitely a rapist, and this needs to be a permanent record. Also Gawker.
I'm gonna stop using Uber.
Getting oxygen feels good. This is the last segment. Thank you very much for staying with us.
You know what?
Courtney.
I like how dark that one gets. I enjoy that.
The dance, the drowning dance. I
Drowning
don't even
dance.
know where that came from. The drowning
know.
dance. Hey, speaking of which, I have to get serious here for a second. People are asking because I talked about this earlier.
This is
with
one's magic.
YouTube and how much does it affect our income, people we employ, and we talked about if we were to ever go daily with the network. So I know we've been talking about this, hashtag never daily, and people are saying, hey, listen, stop screwing around. Let me get real. Stop talking about it. We're never going daily. We're hashtag never daily.
It's frustrating.
There's no announcement in October, possibly November coming.
I tweet it. I have to go and report
It's not
them
anything I would be
for slander,
particularly
lies.
psyched out of my mind about. I wouldn't. It's not like there's a Rolodex where I'm like, oh my god, this guy's gonna be there.
Look at that. We're gonna be a network with it. Not only trying to, but this, that broad.
They flooded my phone the other day.
What? That price?
Not that price.
What?
From my bald baby.
That's a bargain.
So stop it. Hashtag never daily. Nothing like that is going to be occurring in September, October, November.
You just call the show right there. Just out of protest.
Yeah. I don't want to. I just got a text from Dave Rubin. Rubin, we're streaming. Because you marry a guy, we're just supposed to bend over backwards for you and just tweet when we're in a live show. Gosh, gay people can be so pretentious. So we're going to. We always talk about what's kind of the takeaway. A lot of people are talking about when we look at the tweets, we look at some of the responses, saying, hey, that making more pie stuff. I didn't invent the making more pie analogy. That kind of struck a chord. I think that's a big fundamental difference in we were talking about this. Dave Rubin saying liberalism versus leftism. Okay, I know different terminology means different things to all different people. So I want you to don't get mad if I say liberal when I mean leftist or conservative. You understand what I'm talking about. Freedom, anti-authoritarian, conservative, Republican. Let's put it on that side. Democrat, liberal, leftist, social. Let's put it on that side, and you can understand where I'm coming from. The fundamental difference is of a finite view of the world. A view of this is it. Therefore, we need to draw from this. Like we're talking about, whether it's oil, we only have this much energy. Whether it is intellectual capacity, we only have these many people. Whether it is the economy, we only have so many jobs. That's how they see it. Whereas people here, again, on the right, whatever term you want to use, it's okay. We can always find new ways. We can always find new ways to create more jobs. There's going to be the next smart guy around the corner, and that is why I hope people see a silver lining with. Politically, it looks bad right now. The charts show Hillary Clinton likely winning. At the very least, it's going to probably lose quite a bit in House, Senate. But culturally, that is something that I think resonates with a lot of people. And culturally, all of you can have an influence. Culturally, all of you can go out and make your own pie. I know we employ 5 people. That's the pie I'm using with Ladder, with Crowder. It didn't exist. But you have things right now that don't exist. And it is. It's not just a transfer, as leftists like to see it. It's not just, oh, you were here and then you moved here. So it's a net neutral. It is a net gain. Right now, there is something on planet Earth that doesn't exist, that could exist tomorrow in a way that is quantifiable because of an idea. Could be an idea for business, could be an idea for, it could just be an idea. It could just be some sort of philosophy. It could be some sort of intellectual curiosity that buds and turns into something. Think about that. Apple started an iPhone, started as an idea. So yeah, there are raw materials, there are sources that you have to go and you have to send little Chen, unfortunately, to a mine where it's likely going to collapse in on him, and you have to send the canaries back to make sure he's okay. Then you take him out and you make him build a wind turbine. I get that. There's only so many of those natural resources. However, they were never looking for nickel, whatever minerals were needed for an iPhone. The point is that idea can create an entire new pie, and it's sometimes it's hard to get your head around. Right now, there's nothing. You can think of it, you can make it happen, and tomorrow there's something. It is only a net positive.
In a world now of GoFundMe's and all these other things, it's never been more possible to make those things happen. And those things came to you from the product of an idea.
Right.
Those resources, new things.
And they do, and they change the world. And this idea that there's only so much, and so you have to get yours. This is funny. It's an ultimate irony of the left, is we're not selfish. We care about the people. So all of you people get yours. That's what they have to do to buy votes, right? Get yours. What they do is they cater to people's selfish nature, and they fearmonger more than the right. That's what I don't
it's
understand.
just such a hopeless kind of outlook in life.
It is.
Which is funny when they try to twist it around, saying Republicans are the hopeless, fear-mongering ones. Which is just, it could be.
What is more hopeless? Telling somebody, I'm going to make sure you get more welfare because that's about who you are. Or someone saying, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I don't think you should be on welfare because I think you're better than that. Think of any great teacher or any great coach that you ever had. They cared about you, they helped you, but they challenged you. They didn't hand it to you. They didn't say you deserve this. Every person I've ever respected in my life told me, listen, the world doesn't owe you a damn thing. Or listen, you're just going to have to work really hard. There's a great quote from Steve Martin. People come up and ask me all the time, and not that I'm any incredible success story. I'm pretty grateful that I'm able to employ more people, and hopefully they'll be able to do more. When they say, what's the advice? I'm trying to get started on YouTube. And what they do is, I'm trying to get a podcast, and they send me a link and ask me to promote it. Well, the advice is something that Steve Martin put out there. He said, just be so good that they can't ignore you. It is one of the, you will find that if you just get into a groove and do it and work, you can create something magnificent. And that's whether it's fracking, whether it's now more access to oil than ever before. Again, it's not a pie. We have whole new pies. Whether it's this podcast, show, website that's created employment opportunities. I hope if nothing else, this show inspires you to go out, find what it is that you can create, do it, and include people. Be a benefit. And when you do that, you'll have more influence, and you'll be able to help other people. It's just something that's been on my heart. Maybe you suck at all of it. I don't know. See you next week.
Today on Rewind, or Review, or whatever this is called, we're going to be talking about the original film that kicked it all off. I'm talking about 1999's The Phantom Menace, a truly scary, horrific film that will give you nightmares. Well, Jay, let's talk about the Blair Witch Project, which you've seen 38 times. I rewatched yesterday. I saw it in the theater.
So yesterday was the first time you've seen it since the theater?
Yes. You were the proponent of making a review episode about it, especially since...
Well, we got the new one coming out, yeah.
Which is very clearly a soft reboot.
It's a sequel. It's the brother of the Heather character from the first movie going off to search for her. So it pleases people like me, and hopefully brings in new people that say, I've heard of Blair Witch. Mm-hmm. That's that movie that my dad tells me is boring.
But let us not forget there was a sequel to Blair Witch Project, which came out 48 hours later.
Yes,
after
they
the first
slapped that shit together.
The Blair Witch Project 2 Coven of Witches?
Well, it's called Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2.
Oh.
But there's no Book of Shadows in the movie.
So they just gave them a bunch of money to license the title. It's probably a movie that was shot already.
No. It's ambitious as far as sequels go, because it's not a traditional sequel. The easy thing to do would have been just make another found footage thing, a bunch of kids